So how many in this room know me or my company? Okay, that's very nice. Fabulous. Half of the room, job done. But I normally do this presentation, which is, adding value with branding and interior design. And I was planning to do it here until about 2 days ago when I went to Reading Property Meet, and I presented it there. And Bushra, she's over here. She's already seen it twice, and I felt really sorry for her that she will have to watch it for the 3rd time. Yeah, exactly. But also all the messages I received on WhatsApp group. Who is not on Property Sisters WhatsApp group? Okay, so we need to add you guys. So all the messages I received after I said, we are struggling at the moment because we're changing things around. I'm pushing my team to implement a process. We were very relaxed before. Now we're very hard on them in operations, in sales, etc. And everybody was like, "Can you speak a little bit more about that?" So last night I thought, yeah, I can speak a little bit more about that. And I sat until 4 a.m. trying to put together this presentation. But actually, I got 10% of what I really want to say, because I think I could talk about it forever. And at some point, someone will need to kick me off the stage. And I called it the reality of scaling up. And I think what Ruth was saying earlier about, Instagram reality, we all here are on Instagram and we see what we do on Instagram. But really, you get this beautiful picture there, and then no one knows what's happening in the background. And in the background, a lot of things are happening, and not always to what we were wanting to happen. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of the reality of how I got into my business, and just a few tips that I could think of out of about 1 million that I can think of that might help you on your journey right now. And just before I start, can I have a hands up for people who have more than 5 staff in their team? Who hire more than 5, amazing. Hands up for people who have been in the business for more than 3 years. Amazing, very good, I love that crowd. Sweet, so I run Adamczyk. We are focusing on working with developers to create really stunning marketing materials, branding, and interiors. And throughout the whole process, we help them sell faster, within days typically. And that's normally the presentation I give, which I will skip here. You are welcome to join a webinar. I'll set something up so that you hear what we do. And Opulent is a new company that I've set up recently, which is a luxury joinery company, and we're only into month 3 of running. But I'll mention it a little bit later because it's interesting how that's progressing. So a bit about where I started. I always wanted to be an interior architect. I wanted to be architect, then really interior designer. And then the last minute, as you are choosing the direction of your studies, and you're deciding, oh, do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? I feel that at that point, at 16 or so, I didn't have enough appreciation to think that I can actually succeed in it. And I thought, I don't think I'm creative enough. That was my thing. I don't think I'm creative enough. So I'm just going to go the path that was my second favorite path, which was marketing. And I went to study business, marketing and management. And actually what happened then, I became the new dream. I found the new dream. So what I did is I went to Krakow, from my little village, which no one knows about. It's tiny, tiny village in Poland. I went to Krakow, then I went to Belgium. I studied in Belgium for 2.5 years. I got a job in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. I worked there for a year. Then I got a job in London. I moved there. I worked there for a year. I got a job in Philadelphia, I moved there, and I worked there for 4 months. And then I was supposed to go back to Europe, but actually my boss at the time was like, oh, just come to London for 3 months, then 6 months, then 11 years. So it's finally kind of, I've had a completely different dream. Which actually was super fulfilling because I was working for a bunch of really professional companies in all of the different parts of the business. Every 18 months I've changed and I was doing something different. And working for organizations that are international, that really have their shit together. sorry, pardon my French, is what really helped me to get to the point where I am right now. So when I look at the whole journey, and maybe some of you can relate to this, you know, like I'm quite glad that I didn't start with the architect, because having all of this background has really helped me get to the point where I am right now. And I've done some crazy stuff like this, which I could have only done if I were in a bank. Actually, my employer at the time, the Laga London, has sponsored me to sail across the Northern Pacific for 40 days, racing with other sailing yachts, which is up to today the biggest challenge of my life, a mental challenge, a physical challenge, and just emotional challenge. You know, everything you can imagine you go through when you're on a boat with 18 people for 40 days and you're sleep deprived, food deprived, and you're really tired. So this is just one part of my life where I'm like really super grateful for having this background and doing what I've done. But interestingly, you know, DLL, when I worked for them, they were so intense that I had a job where I worked with the whole world. So there was always something happening. You wake up and in the morning, and you know, shit happened in America, or my manager was in Asia, so he called me at 6 a.m. as I was walking the dog. It was so intense that after 8 years, or almost 8 years with them, I thought, you know what, actually I love the international lifestyle, but I think I am spent. There is no more time, no more energy in me. So I went for a job that was more local, meaning in this country, which was at Lloyd's Banking Group. And suddenly I was like, oh, so what do you do with all this free time? Like, you know, I work from 9 till 8 or 9 till 7, but then I have all this free time in the evenings. Like, no one emails me at the time. Not the weekends, no one emails me. Like, what's happening? So I was having a little bit of existential crisis, I think, of changing my lifestyle. And at the same time, a lot of different things happened. My relationship broke, and I was working with Chloe to actually find my new life purpose, because it's, you know, you go through so many different things and you start questioning everything. But until then, you know, at the same time, I already knew what my life purpose is, because I've been doing it for 30-something years, which is every time I got a really crappy property, I refurbish it, and then that was just such a joy. And now, with this job, I could do it in the evenings and weekends. You know, what a liberation. Suddenly you have like the double of your time that you didn't previously have to work overnight or over the weekend on your life dream. So I thought, why don't I figure out how to design this life that I love? And I've done this project, and then I thought, this is really small, you know, I love challenges. I would like to do something much bigger than that. And something much bigger than that was not in size, but it was in responsibility for me. So this is a project where actually you can see Helen over there. I wonder how this thing works. Oh, she's here. She was one of the investors in my crowdfunding campaign. So I thought, I'm going to be a developer. You know, it's everything that they're selling me is so amazing. I'm just going to make so much money. This is beautiful. Like, can anybody relate to this? So this was a flat in Maidavale that we were doing up from 1 bedroom to 2 bedroom. You know, it was really awful at the time. I had 6 or 7 investors in the scheme. And the interesting thing that I went through with this is kind of, you know, turn my point completely around, because when this was happening, I had no sleepless nights. It's all sleepless nights, you know, like the responsibility of having people's money, of everyone watching you because it's so public, of everyone asking you every 3 minutes, like, are you okay? What's happening? Blah, blah, blah. I seen this online, and that was just so much for me that, you know, I am so surprised I didn't get a heart attack during this period, seriously. And also, as we were doing it, and we were like a month away from putting it on the market, Brexit happened. And the property prices, because this is in a premium space, property prices were just going, you know, within six months, the same surveyor gave me 20 grand less for this. And I was like, okay, so I am now in a situation where I have these people relying on me. every month where we pay in the bridging loan, the return investors are diminishing, and very, very quickly we are going to hit the point where there is no return. And I must get out of this situation because I'm so stressed. Like, I can't actually do anything in my job. I was still working for Lloyds Bank at the time, and I was very stressed. And I came up with this idea. Actually, this is how it looks when it's finished, but that doesn't really matter in a market that's crashing. Or now I know that it does matter, but I didn't know it 2 years ago how to actually crack the code. And what I came up with is kind of, in the biggest moments of stress, when you're like reaching the craziness level. I think I'm so happy for myself that I could reach the craziness level. Nothing's gonna, now stress me out. I reached the craziness level, and I was I'm just gonna keep going. But this thing came out from that. So September 2017, when I was like, I just need a new vision. I need to reinvent this thing. Up to that point, the business was called Podkowa Property. We were supposed to be doing development, but the market was not there. So I thought, you know what? I'm just gonna do the thing that I love the most, and I love doing the interiors. The whole other thing that stresses me, I'm just gonna put aside. And that might be, I hope this is really interesting for many of you in the room. And we spoke just a minute ago about you start with something and then you reinvent your business model and you actually follow the path that is, brings you joy really. Because many elements of the path, especially in the developer's path, don't bring me joy. Maybe it's different for you guys, but they didn't for me. So in the 6 months since September 2017 till March 2018, my brain was running 100% at the time, thinking, how do I get out of this campaign? This is stopping my business from progressing because now I'm focused on this thing. So I kind of, in the same 6 months, I reduced my employment from 5 days a week to 3 days a week. It's possible, and I got a promotion, I got a better job. It's a crazy story, but when you are really pushing for something, I think the universe delivers. I started lining up work for the service part of the business. And at the same time, I was constantly searching for solutions for this crowdfunding campaign. And the only solution that seemed really the easiest for me at the time, I didn't know what I learned afterwards, is that I'm just going to use all of my savings and all the money, capital I accumulated on the previous projects to repay the investors. And that's exactly what I've done. So like 2 months into a month into apartment being on the market, I said to the guys, listen, it's not gonna happen. We are December time, January time, no one's gonna buy this thing for another 3 months, then it's gonna be another 3 months, there will be no return left in this. So why don't I just put a stop point here? I'm gonna pay you interest to this point, I'm gonna take on all of the cost that comes afterwards, and I thought naively that it's gonna be 1 month, but actually getting out of this was quite a challenge when you have so many companies involved and so many private individuals. Remortgaging is not the easiest thing. And at the same time, I started taking on the first employee, and in March, I exited the banking and I exited the scheme fully. We've remortgaged. I came out really happy, apart from I had zero in my bank account, 180,000 pounds just evaporated that I was saving to start this business of mine. I am so happy about this decision because my mindset and the space that I was in was much more important than the money. You can always rebuild. It doesn't matter. Whatever the number is, you're going to meet it, and I'm going to talk about it in a minute. But just having the space to actually rebuild is super important. Having the mindset, having the space to put yourself in the right mindset. So I feel that I did the right thing, and actually Helen and Clara have a presentation later about this, and about the whole investor relations and how that's perceived on the other side. So this is a little bit of a developer side. Claire is going to talk about that as well. And as I started my business, I started getting used to this. I've already reached the bottom. I think I'm going bankrupt somewhere there at the very beginning, like zero money in the bank. There is nothing else to do. I've agreed the deal with the bank. You know, I had a 3-month notice period, so I agreed it in January. In March, I had to leave. There was no other option. So I was like, okay, yeah, we're just going to try to make it work. And as we went on, we kept on doing this. And interestingly, as I was writing this presentation, I added this slide this morning, because it may be useful to some of you. But, you know, so very often we tell ourselves, I cannot succeed or I cannot start this thing because I have no money. Where I had no money, take. I cannot succeed because I have no time. And at the time, I was still 3 days in a bank. I had an employee. I had 2 employees when I've left already. So I was underneath my desk going like, what is it? How can I help you? Working, you know, 4 hours a night sleep was like a good night's sleep. That was very, very rare to sleep that much, and weekends, evenings, everything, working all the time. You can do it. You can always make more time, or maybe that's just me. And also the skills thing. You know, I started a business in something that I had no clue about. You know, I did my projects, I saw their salt. So logically, it was like, okay, there is. You just have to crack the system. There is a system. There is a system to creating a selling plan for your property. You just have to crack it, and I just need some time to do it. But I didn't. I was not an interior designer. I started interior design business. And I think I'm an advocate that you don't actually need the skills. I think where women get really, you know, don't help themselves is that they think they need to be perfect to start something. And the man, I've seen man work, you know, like I worked in a man-dominated environment for 12 years. I see how they work. They're like, we'll launch this thing, but we're not ready. We're launching this thing, you know, and they just go for it. And that's actually what I do in my business right now. We're just like, can you sell this campaign? But we don't know what it is. Can you sell it? Oh, you sold it. Okay, now we're going to figure out what it is. Or launching a new product. Can we do it? Yeah, we can do it. How much does it cost? Okay, let's try it with this number. So if you just take one thing from this presentation, guys, is just go for it. Like there is nothing to lose. And I hope Chloe will be talking about it a bit more, because an exercise that she's doing, which is very good, is like, what's the worst that can happen? And you're like, oh, I don't know, I go back and move with my parents. You know, like, what's the worst that can happen? Oh, I don't know. And when you actually go through the process of what's the worst that can happen, like, there is not that much worse that can happen, often. It's really useful. If anybody is in this space, any of this space, who now thinks that they don't have enough money to do something? Okay? Who doesn't have time? Everybody has time, that's amazing. Jess doesn't have time. And who thinks they don't have the skills to do something that they want to do? Okay, amazing, yeah. Just go for it, guys, go for it, don't worry. A man would have done it 7 times already. And, you know, if I were a man, I would start this business at 16. And it took me until 30-something to do it. But one also other big takeaway from the whole experience that I've just been through is that cash flow is king, and if you don't have the money, you are gonna, you know, be constantly in a survival mode. Constantly, you know, like, where do we get it? What do we do? Blah, 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 blah. And that's what happened over the next, you know, I think I have the slide somewhere here. I'll go back to it in a minute. That's what happened over the next year or so. We were just like, every month, we need that much business, we need that much business, we need that much business. And I was growing the team, and, you know, we were moving we had a really quirky office, and we were constantly going like, is the choice hire new people? Is the choice to buy new computers? Is the choice to invest in this really expensive interior design software? Is the choice of, and it's constantly, you're making decisions every day. I'm always joking with the team that it's like decision overload. It's called decision fatigue. You know, about a midday in a day, you're already so tired from everybody asking you things and constantly having to choose left or right. Do I do this? Do I do that? What's going to bring the most value to the business? So I went, you know, I don't recommend starting a business with no capital. I think it would be much easier if you have at least 3 months in a bank. And as you are also growing, you're constantly eating it. constantly eating it, you know. The money goes out of the window like there is no tomorrow. But the interesting thing also, what I was thinking about this morning as I was coming in an Uber here, is that I think if I had the money, I would have spent it on the wrong things. Because I would get a nicer office, get the computers, you know, think that I need to do these things. Actually, now after 3.5 years, I know what's the right thing and what's not the right thing. And if someone gave me 150,000 at that time, I would have a really nice office and, you know, nice, expensive people. And we had to like start from scratch and get people who are super motivated and will work on commission basis, for example, which I'll come back to later. So the Instagram worthy moments were, you know, things that were happening like this. This is our new office, you know, a month after we started, and we actually had to, like, we came into this building. A friend of mine said, well, we have desks, why don't you work there? You know, like, we have desks. We came into the building, we went through the whole building, like, you know, me and Pilar, who is sitting in the middle, she was my employee number 1. We found this room, which I was like, this is our new office. And it doesn't look so great, like it does on Instagram, because it was their storage room and the roof was heavily leaking on all of the files that some accountancy company in the 70s has left there. Exactly 100 bags of files as we found, as we took this all out from the 3rd floor down. But hey, we engage all of our resources, and when you don't have resources, you get super resourceful. You know, we actually found this there, which was really funny. And this is like on day 1. We have a really cool video of the whole transformation somewhere on YouTube, because I love transformations. So, you know, it's maybe not as Instagrammy as the previous picture, but this actually happened. And we kind of went through everything there. You know, initially everybody had to bring their laptop, and we were like, where do we get money for the software? And now we all have like really nice computers, and we're actually no longer there because we outgrew this space. And this is our new office for 20 people. We have we have 12 spaces. If someone wants to work remotely with us in Dalston, then come over, because all of this is empty. But this is my big goal. I guess this is how big I dream, to take on an office like this. So, you know, it's not always what it seems. It's quite hard in the background, but also it's super rewarding when you go through the journey. So again, this journey, maybe today, wait a second, my life is great. We're all here together, right? So a little bit of, you know, at the time when we were like, we need to get the deals, where do we get the deals? And a lot of you will probably know this joy. You know, I've been going to property meetings 5 times a week. I've been always somewhere, you know, doing something. And then the people in the office were executing for me. I was coming in the middle of the night, giving comments and God knows what. I spoke to everyone, you know, I met everyone. And now I don't meet anyone, because I'm like, if they want to meet me, they have too much time. That's just a red sign. You know, these guys don't have too much time. I will speak to them on the phone. I'll qualify them first. I'll figure out if they are real developers or if they just think they have deals. And, you know, ask deals for friends. We had this thing written on our wall, which we no longer have, but we should. It's always a no until it's a yes. And I remember Olivia calling this one client of ours 8 times until he agreed to speak to her. And I don't remember who it was, but it was like, well, she got the deal, or she got somewhere until after 8 times, guys. What are you doing? You know, we did stuff like even team visualization stuff and energy work. We just sat around the table and we were like, okay, now we're all like, which deal do we want? We want that one. Okay, we're all gonna think about that. And actually at the time, I genuinely thought like I'm doing everything I can. I'm working 20 hours. You know, there is no other way. But once you go through it for 3 years, like there is plenty other ways. You know, we have systems for sales right now when whatever, 20 emails go out, people call proactively, and there is the whole logic around it. But at the time, it felt like, oh my God, I'm doing so many things. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if that's helpful, but there is always a way to step up, I believe. So the early days, actually, our favorite Claire Norwood is here. This is the video that broke the internet with 10,000 Facebook hits, which we recorded in January, exactly 2 years ago, January 2018, about how we're going to start working together. And we met on Facebook. We met on Facebook or Instagram. Then we met maybe once before this, and we were like, yeah, we're going to work together somehow. And the early days, you know, Pilar started exactly 2 years ago in January. She is the studio director now. There is an interesting story about hiring her, which I will tell you in a minute. On this picture, like, this is me after an hour of sleep or 2 hours of sleep, which was normal at the time. You know, I was just coffee, 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 no sleep, no sleep, no sleep. You can barely see the eyes. And I was going to Lloyd's, you know, like on my 3 days, and I was sitting there in front of the computer and thinking, this is freaking heaven. These people don't know anything about hard work, you know. I just sat there and I was resting. I'm just typing in here. I'm not in a car delivering some sofa. I am just resting here. This is my rest time. So it was really funny at the time. So that's the first deal. Some CGIs we did for Claire of the first time we worked together. Then we sold her house in 3 days. Woohoo! And the advantage of that is that she now lives next to me. So I'm happy that we got rid of the Twickenham one. You know, we did a lot of things with friends. This is Helen's pad. You know, this lady over here is Helen in her new flat, or here her newly refurbished flat, and this is us going crazy as we go shopping for stuff. And you know, and surrounding myself with all the crazy women, which a lot of them are in the room. Yeah, this is when we just under 2 years ago, with Lizzie 2 years ago in the other Albright. You know, Jade is over here, Gita. These two ladies, our birthday lunch 2 years ago. What happened exactly 2 years ago? And this is Dorothy on Tony Robbins event. So I love Tony Robbins. I'm being told that I only have a minute, but I have another 20 minutes to go. So is everyone with me for that on that? So early days was just like asking friends for deals, you know, like I had them kind of a little bit of space because I left the bank, and then Claire's things happened, Helen things happened, and I got stuck in it. Little did I know that actually when you are stuck in a project, you're not looking for your next one. Yeah, and 3 months later, once we finished this, came like bump, and that's when I learned that lesson. So this is never going to happen again. But we also, around that time, we broke through to the first client that I harassed, which was Mountbatten Homes, and this was the first time we've had a client that is not in the network, you know, like not someone who was recommended or knew me already. I actually saw him speaking at an event. I approached him at the bar. I was like, I take no no's for an answer. I'm just gonna come to your office every week from that point on, and I did. And that's actually us in China, because we kind of figured out, why don't we go to find stuff in China, because he has a huge pipeline, and see if we can source stuff cheaper. So it's kind of, you know, in the background, I was developing my business, I was going to China, I just thought, what is happening, people? So just something that I want you to take from this presentation, at this point of this presentation, is that, you know, when you don't have resources, you suddenly get very resourceful. And this was the case with everybody who worked for me. It was like, you know, well, what's the biggest thing that adds the biggest value today? And go and do that. And fast forward to today, I don't want this all to be like, oh my God, this is so sad. You know, we are 2 years later, and we have all of these amazing clients. And actually, I added some that are in the room, or were supposed to. Jasmine was supposed to be here. She couldn't make it today from Block 88. Lorraine, is Lorraine in the room? I think she's away as well. So some of the ladies that are in the room, we're still working on 2 projects with Claire. You know, but the nice ones are really like Great Portland Estates, you know, like just being able to bring in such huge clients, and also we've done 3 projects for them, so they're returning customer. I'm all about returning customers, and it's nice to have a client list like this. And this is a little bit of a birthday treat. Last year, when we were 3 years old, you know, I took the girls for a photo shoot. And funny enough, this was in August, at the beginning of August last year, and then at the beginning of September, we were already 11 people. And it's just, and that is in itself really interesting growth. Because you're figuring out everything out. You're not only training another 5 people or 6 to come to the business in the same 3 months. We've actually decided the whole thing happened because we decided to do CGIs as like a major part of our business offering. So we brought in all of those visualizers. We brought in new designers to handle this, and just the processes that we had to go through. You know, it's easily 6 months of process development after you train everyone to know what you want, to know your style, to have your kind of work ethic. To get together as a team, it's just been a major interesting 6 months. Some of our projects that we've done, that's for Great Portland Estate, crazy refurb, completely colorful in London Bridge, yes. But now we're doing a lot on marketing, and I would love to do a webinar on this, actually, how you can sell through marketing, because this development, for example, you know, developer put it on the market this Monday, and by 3 days later, 80% of units were sold. Like, we constantly get these sort of projects. There is nothing. Literally, we already knew that about the first 2 units, and then on Wednesday, someone walked into the estate agent. The estate agent showed them the brochure that we did and the CGIs we did, and the guys bought 2 cash. So it's really unbelievable, but that's the sort of crazy things that are happening right now. So I would love to do a webinar for you to like show you how we do it. And this is the same property. It's very quirky, very quirky. That's another one. So that's Brompton Gardens for Fleet Homes. Launched in December. 1 house sold, I think, within the first week. They are not finished. And then another one sold, I think, early January. So 2 of them, 2 out of 4, over 1 million value in walk-in, sold on the basis of those really stunning marketing materials. That's some of our CGIs, you know, that just look like the real thing. That's Princedale, so I wanted Yasmin to see it. She's working with us right now, you know, super crazy branding. I love it, you know, that she has the guts to do stuff like this. And we want more clients like these. And beautiful homes, you know, they are probably, I think they were just watertight just now, but they are launching or launched this week on the market, so we'll see how they go. And a bunch of other projects, you know, like really nice, larger developments, 18, 20 units, 14 units, this one, they are all coming up. So this was the story of the overnight success of 3.5 years in the making. But I also want to, and this is where I'm going to ask you if I can steal your time. I was supposed to do 40 minutes, though. Okay, yeah, okay, I have 20. Phew, are you bored? No. Okay, good, very nice. So there is a bunch of lessons, and I am so sorry that I cannot give you all, but they just keep on coming. I added about 3 slides this morning, and it's like, I need to tell them this, I need to tell them that. So I mean, if there is any interest, I'm happy to do like a full day or whatever, and I'll think about it in a bit more detail. But just the ones that I came up with. You know, like when you do it for a while, you start seeing patterns, and some of the patterns are not so great, and most of the time they are not so great. That's why you need to come up with how do you address it and how do you make it better. I think the biggest one, honestly, who pays on time? Please, people, Claire Norwood pays on time, I must say, always. But there is so many developers that are just not bothered, you know, like. that it's not big on their to-do list or something, and they will give us excuses about, you know, development finance or whatever. But it's very painful, especially when you're running like us. You know, we get the deal, we invest, we get the deal, we invest. And at the very beginning, when they don't pay you, and it's like a major part of their portfolio, it's a killer. Margins lower than expected. All of these I have a slide for, so just this is a quick summary. Focusing on the wrong things. I love that one because I've done it so many times. Focusing on the wrong thing. What's really important? It's not actually that important. Worried about your proposition. What am I selling? Why am I like this? Why should I be like that? Should I be like that? That's a very interesting one. The changing, always changing, you know, you're constantly changing. We've evolved a million times. I'll show you some of the things, how we evolve. Deals not going through. Last minute, we sent contracts, the developer changed his mind. After he got the contract, he got the invoice, he just had to sign it, you know, the normal, and even more normal in, you know, HMOs, buying properties, etc. And then the imbalance of work and resources, like we always have either not enough deals or not enough people, you know, or too many deals, too many people. It's never a balance, so you're just gonna go through this like, am I hiring today? Am I firing today? Am I finding the deal? Am I trying to manage operations? What am I doing today? So this is one that we got very strict about very early. And you know, the clients not paying us. Every client is going to get about 700 emails right now from us to remind them that they have to pay us. So we've set it up. Initially, I was sending it myself because I really wanted it to come out from my email address. But actually, we figured out that my Xero is connected to my email address, so I should also be emailing. You know, this can come out, and they can just reply to me direct. So you know, it's really nice. You know, thanks for appointing us. This is the link to your invoice. We are a small business, and we really appreciate that you pay us promptly. And at the moment, it just says, oh, we might stop working for you. And then they get a bit like, we are stopping working for you. We'll never work for you. We will not finish this project, etc. Just kidding. Yes, exactly. So, you know, it starts with, I think, 10 or 15 days beforehand. You can set it up however you want it. So we have at least one that gives them 2 weeks notice, one that gives them like 2 days notice, one that's on a day, one that 2 days after, etc. But we got very bossy now where, you know, you don't pay us within 2 days after payment, we stop work. And we even stop work for a long time. You know, it's not like, oh, we're just going to start it whenever you're ready. No, whenever you're ready, we start 10 days later. You know, because what we've learned is that it's not a priority, not a priority, not a priority, and then suddenly it's a priority for them. So you don't, you know, it's then, 10 days from now on, we need to schedule it. We have 10 people working on other projects. This is not going to happen. And the really, really, really big one is, it's your money. You know, like you have the right to ask for it. And some people that I talk to quite, you know, often will not ask for it because they feel like, oh my God, you know, like I reminded them 3 months ago. They should remember, or I reminded them 3 weeks ago. And it's no, it's your money. Like you have the right without any guilt to just go there and say, where is my money? I've done the work, where is it? So don't feel guilty ever. Is anybody here ever feeling guilty about asking? It's a pattern, but once you get through it, you reach the hell, like you're gonna easily just ask for it. It's my money, give me my money. The margin protection is really interesting. So you are probably not gonna have that, although if you refurbish and manage refurbs, I would really recommend that you start measuring how much time you're actually putting into it. Because in practice, what you will think is like, I put 30 hours a week. But in practice, it's 60 hours a week because we do it while we're driving or whatever. It doesn't seem like you're spending so much time on it, but you are actually spending a lot of time once you start measuring the time. And I really wish that we did this way earlier, you know, that someone came to my business and said, oh, start monitoring your time. And I'm sure about 1 million people told me that, and I ignored it. So do not ignore this. Start monitoring your time. And you can set up, this is Harvest app. You can set it up in any way you want. I'll show you in a minute how we are set up. But we constantly rejig it. We compare what happened a year ago. You know, like we change it so that it's more up to date for our new process. And just some trends will start emerging. And what you thought is the right price for this product is actually half price. That's what we constantly find. Because we don't want to be someone who does like a okay job. We want to be that company that people go to for results. So we put all of the time in, but then we find, okay, that's not enough time. We're just going to bump the price up. Ha ha ha. But actually you need to, because this data gives you very clearly, tells you you do need to bump your price up, because otherwise you're going to run out of money very quickly doing deals that don't stack up. So we've done it all. You know, we've had Asana for a year. Asana is a project management software that you can measure the time with as well. You can measure all of the steps. It's quite complicated. You know, and people say when you set it up right, it's fine. But I found that it's too complicated for a small business like us. You know, we just needed something fairly easy. So Harvest and Forecast. Harvest, everybody constantly tracks what they're doing, apart from me, because I'm a cost. So I've set myself up very well. And I'm the cost to the business overheads. And then the Forecast is the second app that we have that just helps us to book the business going forward. So, you know, we have 14 projects currently running. That's quite a lot. That's probably too much. I would rather have less, but for bigger developments. So we need to make sure that we've budgeted that time in for all of the designers. So that's how we use it. I think Forecast is quite similar to Monday.com. We tried it. We felt that Forecast is a bit better for us. And you can do the same thing through spreadsheets, to be honest. You don't have to pay the fee. But I like to have something that works immediately. So this is an example of a project, you know, that finished May 2019. I can see here kind of all, you know, how much time we spent. I can see how much in total hours. We assigned what's billable and what's not billable. So like, for example, my time will not be billable or something. And then you have the remaining budget, so you can still spend that much on it. And this project is currently on hold because something's happening on site. And then I kind of see how much we spent on it, how much we still have to invoice when we restart the project. And Forecast is showing me also over here. I can click on this and see how many designers I have scheduled for it in the future. And then going back, I have about 100 fields like these that tells to me, where did this money go to, you know? And I took out the cost over here, like our internal cost. But it says, yeah, for specification, the client should have been charged this much up to now, or this much up to now. So it really helps me to understand where the cost in the business is. Just to give you an example of something that's not quite right, I don't know why it says May also. I think this project is also still running. You know, like we had initially when we started doing this, we couldn't believe it that all of the projects are like above what we should be paid for. But obviously you don't add it up. It's only when you start doing it, and that just, you know, tells you, okay, we're never going to get this 25 grand back. This is just money spent that we spent to make sure that this is quality for the customer. A big shame, but we must never ever repeat this. And everything in operations now runs so that this, you know, stuff like that is not repeated. I get these notifications daily. I know every project that's running. The operations manager, studio manager, she's looking at this. And to be fair, we will do work after this because our quotes are fixed, so we are very exposed. But this is the biggest thing that can bring you down. There are two things that can bring you down. Yeah, the spending too much time on stuff, and then so that the cash flow is diminishing. You're spending time, you're not getting business. But also second thing is operations and also not charging enough. You know, you don't have enough money coming for this. So you can play with these two, like I'm going to increase the price, I'm going to spend less hour, I'm going to increase the price, I'm going to more hours, so increase the price. So we constantly do this balancing act. And here is an example of forecast. Yeah, I just pasted a little bit without any detail, but it basically says, oh, for example, this person is full Monday and Tuesday, and then she can do a little bit on the other 2 days, or this person is working that many days, and we assign so that they don't feel overloaded, because in a small business you can very quickly feel like, oh, I do need to do so many things. So we're just managing this, and obviously people do more than this, but they know what they have to do. Is this interesting? Yes. Sorry, everybody just went very silent. My important bit, focus on what's important. And I'm the worst at it, so maybe I shouldn't be talking about it. But there is a very good talk from Jin Ron on YouTube, which I love re-listening to. It's like an hour. I could listen to it every day, to be honest. But when I was writing this presentation, I thought I'm just going to take out one sentence, and all of the sentences are freaking amazing. But he talks about the minor things, and you know, thinking about the prospect, making list of prospects, keeping books on prospects, going to see the prospects, evaluating the prospect after you've seen it. It's all like, we call it in the office, productive procrastination. You know, like nothing is coming out of this, nothing, no result for the business. That's the result when you're actually doing something that's the most valuable, talking to the prospect. And so talking to the client, you know, actually doing something that is going to make the difference. This is important, but the trick is do not focus on it. And that's the whole thing I wanted to show with this slide. So I was talking to Bushra on Thursday, actually, about you know, starting the business and kind of where you focus your stuff. And I said to her, you know, there is so many things. When I started, I was thinking, I have the name. I need the name. I need a good name. Name was so important to me. I need a website. Website was so important so that it shows, you know, what I do. I need to have an experience. I'm just going to work for free for a year. I worked for free for a year. That was not a great idea. But okay, I got the experience. Now I can start. Oh no. What if it doesn't work? You know, like I'm not good enough. There is so many things that you're thinking about when you start a business, and actually right now it's like, just get on and do it, you know, like whatever. Try to, can anyone relate to this? How important website is, you know, when you start. We've relaunched our website about 70 times now. I think I'm okay. It's really the most important. We do branding, right? Just so that you know, because I'm talking about it in a bit of a negative way. But it's super important, like it sells properties that haven't even started, you know, no one digged on the ground, you can sell it within 3 days. However, you mustn't make it your main focus, you know, people will buy from you because they like you. That's like the most important thing. You will go have a coffee with them, they will think it's such an amazing person, I don't know what we can do, but we can do something. That's why they will buy from you, not because you have a website or a name. I found that when I was researching this thing, so what sort of procrastinator are you? You know, and that thing I just mentioned, just like was, I thought, okay, I was always the perfectionist. It needs to be 100% perfect. So you can be cured from perfection, guys. I am the proof that you can stop being the perfectionist and just launch the freaking thing, do the minimum viable product and succeed. The dreamer, I'll just think about it a bit more. I want to actually do it. The avoider, oh, this is becoming so big in my head. I'm paralyzed. You know, what is it? Crisis maker. I'm the crisis maker. That's why this presentation happened at 4 a.m. last night. So I read up about crisis maker, and that's the people who wait until last minute, and then they need to do this thing. So I'm a bit of crisis maker as well. And a busy procrastinator, we hate those, you know. And don't do things that don't bring value to the business. I don't care that you're busy. It needs to be valuable stuff. Okay, is everyone okay? I'm talking and it might be a bit boring. So the example, 3 years ago, I worried about the website, relaunched it many times, changed the name, done all of this, and 2 months ago, I launched this business. We found a partner that can deliver beautiful joinery. Normally the sort of project of $500,000 million of commercial fit-outs. And at the same time, we've had a supplier that went really fucked up with our client. So I thought we are going to do it ourselves. I'm not putting my name on the line for someone who doesn't deliver. We can just launch this business tomorrow. And that's exactly what we've done. We designed this thing. We have a beautiful name, really nice branding, 1 day of work. Then we did the website, 2 days of work or whatever. This is what my work, meaning 24 hours nonstop. And then and I got a salesperson to do it. He's making 20 calls a day, speaking, emailing, whatever, 40 people every day, and just having conversations with architects. We're going for architects in this case. And you can sometimes just do it, which funny enough, it's actually a man in our team. But it works. You can do it that way. And now I'm all for actually launch that thing. Like, what's the worst that can happen? The website is not ideal. It's not ideal. Just go and talk to people, rejig it. You're gonna change it about 100 times. So one thing that kind of links to it is that I always act on an opportunity. Whatever happens, I'm kind of like a man. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, let's do it. That person in my team will do it, and do the thing. Take inspired action. Like whenever it hits you. Oh, I have a feeling. Sometimes I come up with something, and I know that within 10 minutes I'll forget it, and I won't do it. So I do it that exact moment when I have a feeling, and I came up with this idea. And that's kind of how your business evolves. We started with styling. I was convinced that show homes are the thing that sell properties, and we've had so many examples to prove that it's true. Claire's house sold within 3 days. We had a project of our mutual friend sell for 20% over asking in the toughest market. We're constantly seeing huge added value with styling, and that's where we started. But it's quite a tough business to make money on, actually, because everybody wants small margins. You carry big furniture. There's so many people involved that after you do your harvest work and you figure out the cost, it makes no freaking point. So you reinvent yourself, and you go through. We've added interior design. That also needed a lot of tweaking to find the right margins and the right costs. We've added CGIs, we've added the branding, we've added walkthroughs. In the last 6 months, we do 3D walkthroughs that are beautiful, social media management, and you kind of follow this, as you go along. You don't need to have your offer figured out here. It's going to change all the time. And if it's not going to change by adding products, you're going to just go different dimensions. You might go interior design in commercial, or an online product that we're developing, or company rebrand. So just don't get so hung up on what's my offer? What's my offer? The thing that you want to figure out at the beginning. Just think kind of, okay, innovation will take me wherever there is margin, wherever there is customer need. That's ultimately where I end up. And also size of clients, we've completely changed. I worked with developers that had 1 unit initially. I've learned a lot because there is lower risk, that's smaller projects. Then we went to 2, 3, then we went 9 to 10. And now the uncomfortable thing that the team is going through is how do we get into the 100 plus? All of this year is what happens when you hit the 100 plus. In one building. Devolving testing the boundaries of what's possible growing, it's super fun. If I don't look like I'm having fun, kick me. Because it's super fun. It's super fun. You are like, what are we going to do today? We come to the office and we're like, oh, what's going to happen today? Maybe someone will call. Maybe someone will email. He saw our projects online. It's just so amazing. And then doing things like, can we do VR tours? Yeah, we can do VR tours. How are we going to do VR tours? I don't know, just sell it. Then we figure it out. Okay, I need to go quick. So this is really important. Know your customer. You know, who is the person that will buy from you? We've had this thing, 3-5 developments at the time. We're moving away from it, but that's just one avatar of our typical client last year. You know, minimum 10 units in each building. He has a small team. It's a man typically. He's time poor. He only has a PA maybe. He wants one person to do everything for him around London. He has the budget. He understands the value. Tick. You know, when you speak to that person on the phone, and you have this list, you're like, tick, 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 ideal client, we definitely can work together. And also, it's actually really like counterintuitive to narrow your client base, because initially you want to serve everyone, because what if I miss that deal? You know, someone wanted me to do a private house here, but then you are completely just all over the place, you know, like when you focus, you find them, they find you, your messaging online or wherever when you talk to them is so focused, they're like, that's the right client. So narrow it down to exactly the client you want, and that's constantly changing, constantly. On sales, I could speak for about 7 days. So this is super quick, sorry guys, but you know, if someone wants sales, shout out and we do it on the next event. Kind of don't get disheartened if stuff doesn't happen, happens all the time. You know, never leave a call without next steps. Someone is on a call in my office, I'm listening, they're just done half an hour and they're like, okay, amazing, oh, this was amazing. I'm like, next step. When are you talking to them again? You know, like I always have the next step. Build relationships, super important, you know, and listen for the language. That's really important, because sometimes you will hear in a conversation with the clients, they say something and it just doesn't sound right. And I will spend at least half an hour like trying to see if they are in the same mindset, if they are relationship focused, you know, if we can do something. That's really, you know, listen to what they say. If they say something like, I've pushed my builder, you know, like, away. I don't want to be someone who is pushing the builders and like, you know, and like not appreciating their team. I pick up on that immediately. Rubbish goals mean rubbish results. Sorry, this is almost the end. I promise to you. I'm not gonna do this so much longer. Rubbish goals mean rubbish results. So what I believe is that you set yourself a goal and actually it just becomes natural. So 5 years ago, we needed to bring £5,000 so that we pay everyone and whatever. Then 15, then 20, then 30, then 35, then 40. You know, like that number is almost unimportant. It's important from cash flow perspective, but like your mind constantly adjusts to it, like the bigger goal, bigger goal, bigger goal. So make sure that you have a good goal over there. Who thinks they have a good goal? Guys, honestly, it's only 1/3 of the room. You need to think larger. Chloe, we need you on stage. So yeah, so set yourself some goals that scare you, and they scare me, and I work on that with Chloe to make sure that I can achieve and I can push my team. And there will always be a lot of imbalances, you know, with what you're delivering, what the team is capable of, etc. And that actually brings me to my hiring presentation, which I might have to do in the afternoon or over something else, because that was requested. I think, who requested hiring? Who requested hiring? Yeah, so we are going to do this a little bit later so that I don't bore you to death. I'm so sorry. Was this interesting? Yes. Thank you.